fun observation. This is pretty striking. So I moved up the beach, but then I went back to check out the last section of the beach I was at, and it's way better. The occupancy just jumped up, just spiked up like a few. Yeah, it went from being like close to 10% to being close to 50% now. You can take a look at La Plancha here, for example. Just a few hours ago, there was nobody there. Now it's kind of like sunset time. It's getting packed. So I don't know. Does that mean people only go to the beach during sunset now, or they're just optimizing each hour of their day for the maximum experiential return? But a lot of guests, you know, and you can think of this for yourself. They just want the best experiences. So I'm actually, you know, I'm hatching a new theory that everybody is basically optimizing each hour of their time spent in Bali. That's inspired me to hang out a little bit longer out here to kind of see what the full story is in Seminyak and Kuta too. So instead of going back to the office, I'm gonna go and stay around for the evening and see if I don't know, if there's a nocturnal proxy indicator. I'm at the Dewi Sri junction here at Sunset Point. This is one of the most strategic and busy intersections in all of Bali because it connects the largest residential areas in Denpasar to the largest work areas along the coastline in Kuta, Seminyak, Legan, and Canggu. So I am actually pretty astounded, and if you look at this overhead hyperlapse of this junction, you might notice something. Either there is not a lot of people or work happening during peak season, or somebody has actually figured out how to resolve the congestion that used to happen here. Now, there's a few explanations for what we see. So in years past, this junction would be hopelessly clogged during peak season, especially during the change of shift hours, like right now, between 5 and 7 p.m. But these days, the traffic flows rather fluidly. It flows rather in a laminar way. Hey, normally I would actually ask you to watch an ad for Book It Vista, but today I need some help. So last week I had a mislaunch with a really funny satire episode about dumb ways to calculate return on investment. If you're buying a leasehold property in 2026, it's something that you really don't want to miss, because I share really good advice about how not to get fooled by improper ROI calculations that many people have lost hundreds, if not millions of dollars on. So you definitely want to watch that. Okay, look guys, I think I've understood this problem much better, so I'll walk you through it. The reason why there's such abhorrent traffic in Bali is because of a simple traffic circulation macro problem. Here's what it looks like. The largest two arteries in Bali are the Sunset Road, which brings north to south traffic from the airport up to regions like Kuta, Legan, Seminyak, and Canggu. But also, there's another flow of traffic orthogonal to this main artery coming from Denpasar also to Kuta, Legan, Seminyak, Canggu. The north-south corridor is a corridor where tourists are coming along the way, but this other corridor are where workers, employees who are commuting to jobs from Denpasar are also creating a secondary traffic. The choke point of this entire traffic situation happens at the end of Sunset Road, where 6 lanes of inbound traffic become 2. And then also the Jalan Kayu Aya, which is the main corridor that brings traffic from Denpasar, also converges in the jail right behind the end of Sunset Road, and also causing another huge traffic congestion situation. This situation has been going on for a long time, and I'm really happy to report that somebody, somewhere in the government, has actually figured out a way to resolve it, and this could be the reason also why Bali feels so empty. Because, and I'm really excited to report this, would it be possible that Bali finally solved its traffic problem? Stick to the end and watch and explain what I saw on the ground and in the sky. and it's July 1st. So we're gonna go down this street, take a look and see what the scene looks like from the street level. Here we go. Well, there is a bit of traffic, which is good. That's an indicator of success. And I mean, you just have to admit that the retail here is just way out of date. These obscene t-shirts and cheap souvenirs and tattoo shops and sketchy looking massage places. I don't think that no longer cuts it in 2026 for what an ideal holiday should be. Whoa, this guy's carrying a suitcase over here. And I mean, Kuta during COVID was quite an interesting scene. There was one, My Voi, okay, My Voi, one of my favorite restaurants here. Lots of Vietnamese. Oh, that place is packed. Mama's is also doing fairly well for dinner. Not terrible. I mean, it's not like completely dead here. There is some bit of activity here in Kuta. This place is pretty full. It's called the Pad Bar and Grill. Okay, there's a lot of places that are for rent, as you can see. And wow, okay, so that was a big... Fact is that Kuta, after transfer of ownership of Sky Garden, just kind of fell apart, right? For the evening life, because it was really Sky Garden that was holding the anchor tenant of Kuta, so to speak. But these days it's a constellation of mediocrity. Pretty empty, not the peak season activity that you would expect. There's a few people at the sports bars. There's these sketchy girls outside giving fake massages, more sketchy women over here. And we're getting close to the Memorial where the 2005, no, it was the 2002 bombing occurred, yeah. That was covered in a previous episode. Okay, we've reached the center of Kuta, you could say, in the evening. Okay, so this is it. This is kind of like the main stomping ground of Kuta. Behind me is Ground Zero, Kuta Memorial. As we take a look around, it's not that busy, as you can see. It's not a lot of pedestrian traffic, and certainly, you don't really feel classy being in Kuta at all. Click on the helmet. All right, I'm secure. I'm going down the Jalan Kayu Aya street here in Seminyak. It's the main commercial district where most of the retail and a lot of the food and beverage places are. It's not dinner time yet, but let's just cruise down and kind of see what the vibe on the street is. Just from the looks of it, right, I can tell you it's actually underperforming. It's a bit quiet. But let's move ahead and see what we see. All right. So some people walking on the street. It's not completely empty at this point. Let's focus over here. We're coming upon Red Carpet Champagne. I was at Red Carpet Champagne the other day to enjoy their cheap oysters, and it was really, really empty. Yeah, not much activity happening in this sector of the world. Got a few stragglers walking up and down the street here. Got a few closed businesses. Yeah, I would not call this anywhere near what we used to call this, which would be the chief commercial area of Bali. So still empty even during peak season, or the beginning of peak season 2026. Wow, this used to be Rumours. It's empty and for lease right now. For those of you that came to Bali back in the 2010s, Rumours was the rage. It was so fun. Very good American themed food, North American themed food. Great prices. Over here you can see it's an abandoned building. It's dilapidated. All right, we're passing Bali Cafe, Café Bali, and reaching towards a few of the... Chandi's still here. That's good to see. Chandi has not gone out of business. A Southeast Asian fusion type restaurant. And we're seeing a little bit of congestion here. That's unusual. Okay, Mykonos, a perennial favorite. This is one of my go-to restaurants for Greek food. I learned to love tzatziki from Mykonos back when Arjan was running the place. Yeah, he's got a hard job. He's got to go and kind of entertain his guests every night, which is dutiful work. It's not for everyone. We've reached Seminyak Square. Seems to be a little bit of activity near Seminyak Square, not a whole lot. A lot of this parking, I did some investigation on it, and unfortunately most of this parking is actually, what do you call it, employee parking. So it's harder and harder to find free parking these days. So a lot of people who work in these shops, they park on the street. I'm not sure what arrangement they make with the local parking guys, but that's like the word on the street now. So all this parking, well, except for maybe this guy over here, is actually mostly, you know, the people who work in the shops parking. Okay, Indian tandoor on the left, empty. Some girls doing fake massage over here. Hello. Okay, this is the flea market in Seminyak. Bunch of bikes parked outside. Let me take a peek at what's inside. The flea market usually is a attraction, but these days, yeah, some people. I mean, like, not a total dead zone. There's, I don't know, like 10 people here. Parking lot is full, but shops are empty, tables are empty, and here's some people who just got here. Hello. And yeah, I'll swing the camera around so you can take a look at it. It's, yeah, it's like an empty restaurant over here. And it's an empty restaurant over here too. Okay, so this is not the place. This is definitely not the place, okay? I'm curious what's happening at Coup d'etat these days, so I'm gonna go and take a look. Coup d'etat for me has a special place in my heart because it was the classic place to see and be seen, but now it's 2026, let's see if it's still the place. Hello, okay.
How are you?
I'm doing good, I'm doing good. Okay, all right, at least I got a friendly welcome here. Okay, all right. But he didn't check security at all, which is, I guess, okay. I mean, they have modern day problems like occupancy to worry about. Back in the day, they had other problems like terrorism to worry about. So times have changed. Oh wow, it's inside. Let's go and take a look. Okay, not like the packed days I remember, but definitely not completely empty either. Okay, so it's nearing sunset right now. And it looks like, if I were to call this occupancy, it looks like the front, maybe 20% has occupancy, but the back is empty. But this is better than what I remembered it was before. Here, take a look. Some people over on the left, some people over on the right. That's irony. Have enough money for coup d'etat, but needs to share a bike to save money on Gojek. 2 people on 1 Gojek, but hang out coup d'etat. When I stepped into Coup d'etat, it was about 3 p.m. in the afternoon, but then later, as I got up towards Petit Teng, I flew my drone back to Coup d'etat, and it was much livelier. So apparently, people do go to Coup d'etat, but just for sunset. Not a lot before sunset, but for sunset, that's when the peak crowds came in. But I don't remember that used to be the case. I remember people used to go to Coup d'etat during the daytime and hang out all day there. Okay, so we're going to start in Kerobokan at this DC-10 junction. That's the airplane on the roof. Everyone's seen it. You all know what I'm talking about. And we're going to drive through the new roads that have been built in parallel to Jalan Raya Kerobokan, which is helping to alleviate the congestion that we've been experiencing for years here. The big change is that traffic is no longer being forced into one overloaded road. New parallel roads now divert vehicles before they hit the old bottleneck. You can see the system here. Instead of 2 highways converging into one choke point, the flow is being split earlier into 2 separate corridors. But infrastructure alone is not enough. To those of you who say that the government isn't doing anything, this guy over here is making sure traffic flows this way, which is good. Traffic officer is positioned here to enforce the new pattern because traffic is also a habit. Drivers have been trained into fewer shortcuts, fewer conflict points, and more predictable one-way movement. The trade-off is inconvenience. Some people now have to loop further, but the benefit is higher total capacity for everyone moving through the area. And once traffic flow improves, land value follows. It's worthwhile also to note at this point that there are many new properties being built on both sides as well, a lot of construction sites, and that's why there's a price war, and that's why you can pick up a villa for about $15 a room. Like you can get a villa during peak season in Bali for $45 a night now, which is pretty astoundingly incredible. These new bypass corridors are already becoming a proliferation point for many properties, as you can see here around the area, and also potentially strategic locations for cafes, villas, and new construction. Now we're back to the old congestion zone. This used to be a nightmare. day, the flow is visibly smoother. The important thing is that there's probably not fewer vehicles. It's just that the conflict points have been reduced. And that may explain why this part of Bali feels less jammed this peak season. Someone just didn't add a road. They redesigned the behavior of the whole traffic system. So this traffic junction used to be a horrendous nightmare, even with all the stoplights. They got rid of the stoplights, and you can see the stoplights are no longer working, and there's just perfect flow. There's flow going that way, back towards Seminyak. There's flow going this way, towards Tanala and Dese, and there's flow this way going towards Petit Tangat. It's just all flowing right now. It's beautiful. It's actually really, really exciting. I'm super delighted to see this happen. This is like, this unclogged the traffic situation in Bali. It's so exciting. Oh, okay, except for that, you know, but that's bound to happen. But for the most part, every direction is flowing now. And that could explain why there's fewer traffic situations now happening in Canggu and in this part of Bali, because effectively somebody solved the traffic problem and nobody even recognized it. Congratulations. If you solved this traffic problem, thank you. Wrap up from this episode, and we hope you've enjoyed to take a look and understand what is happening on the skies and shores of Bali. So next week, be sure to tune in again as we continue exploring to other regions of Bali. Insights are there such that you can make better investment decisions on how to buy, sell, lease, or manage real estate here in Bali. This is Jing with the Bali Business Review, and we'll see you again soon.